I'm Dwanna Loganbill Boone. This is a video made from 8mm home movies filmed by Lieutenant Colonel Randal E Lee between 1944 and 1973. The movies are of my grandparents, Barbara Bixler and Albert Eli Loganbill, and some of their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. The Loganbills had 8 children: Effie, Aldous, Orvella, Martha, Daniel, Frida, Florence, and Clyde. This is the home, I believe, of Effie and Edgar Lehman. This is in Gary, Oklahoma, 1947. We have Effie sitting here in the back with her 2 daughters, Dorothy and Frances, and I believe that's probably Frances' son, Richard. Here we have Orvella. Let's see, we have Frida and Orvella and Effie and my grandparents and Dorothy in the back, Frances with her little boy Richard. I do not know who the lady is in the middle. That's grandmother waving. We've been joined here by Frida and Randal Lee are now sitting on the porch also. That's Dorothy. Dorothy and Frances are the daughters of Effie and Edgar Lehman. Coming up will be Edgar Lehman and John Ringelman and his father Orlando Ringelman. This next reel takes place in 1947 in Mission, Texas. This is me, Dwanna Loganbill Boone, riding the bicycle. We're at the home of Clyde and Elaine Loganbill, live in Mission Acres, which was a subdivision of Mission, Texas. This is my brother Danny pulling our cousin Lana Loganbill in a wagon. My father, Dan Loganbill. The grandparents lived here at this time. They lived in a 1-bedroom apartment which was attached to Clyde and Elaine, their son's home. My father is also a son of the grandparents Loganbill. This is my aunt Frida Loganbill Lee. She's with a group of people. We're not sure who they are. This is Frida. She's holding South Texas grapefruit. and her husband, Randal Lee. Randal is the one that made these movies. We're back at Elaine and Clyde's home. This is 1948. This is a picture of Frida, Florence. They're daughters of the grandparents. Elaine, the daughter-in-law, and then the grandparents. And in the front, the grandparents are Clyde and his two children, Lana and Alan, and myself. There I am again with my mother, Irma Loganbill, my aunt, Florence. Florence is the daughter of the grandparents, and my cousin, Lana. This is Alan Loganbill, son of Elaine and Clyde Loganbill. This is around 1948, I guess. Maybe 49. I think it's probably 1949. It's probably in the wintertime also. They seem to be wearing jackets, and so I'm assuming it's probably at Christmas time. How cute. This is Elaine Loganbill. Elaine and Clyde and their children. This is Alan, probably close to 1951. Lana and Clyde. Their jackets are probably from Mexico. Now I have to mention, do you see how the little girl is swinging, and do you see how the little boy is swinging? How they miss each other, I don't know. This is Frida Lee and Clyde Loganbill, brother and sister, children of Albert and Barbara Loganbill. Alan and his dog. On the right is Randal Lee. It's Elaine, Grandpa, Frida and Grandma and Clyde and the children. This is taken at the home of Dan Loganbill, my father. 1951, they lived on Trosper Road. The first row is Danny Allen and Lana Loganbill. In the second row, my dad, Elaine, myself, and my mother. We're back at Elaine and Clyde's home on the 3 Mile line. They lived 3 miles north of Mission. We lived 6.5 miles north of Mission. Looks like some of the neighborhood children with them. This is the Loganbill home, Dan Loganbill and Irma Loganbill, my parents. We lived 6.5 miles north of Trosper Road. My brother in the middle and our cousins, Alan and Lana. We're getting ready to go for a picnic, I believe. Dan and Clyde Loganbill and their families, the grandparents, and there's Aunt Frida in the middle. Randall's taking the pictures. We go to the Sherry Memorial. This is located in Sherryland, Texas. Mr. and Ms. John H. Sherry are buried there. There's a mausoleum. There's a picture of the mausoleum. It's across the street from their home. Mr. Sherry was a land developer in South Texas area. Irma and Dan and his parents, Barbara and Albert, along with Clyde, in 1928 moved to the valley. They bought land from Mr. Sherry, land and some orchards. We were there for the afternoon. We toured the grounds. At one time, my father, for a number of years after he moved down, they moved down here, he drove excursions for John Sherry. There's the home, Sherry Estates. The town of Sherryland is located between the towns of Mission and McAllen. Lana and Alan are riding on the train. I'm not sure where this is. It may have been on the grounds. It may have been a display or something that they had, but we don't know. This is Crystal Waters Swimming Pool in Mission, Texas. My brother and I spent a lot of summers swimming this pool. This was a 4th of July picnic that we had at La Lomita Mission Park near the Rio Grande River south of Mission, Texas in 1951. At the picnic were the brothers Daniel and Clyde and their families, the grandparents Randal and Frida Lee, and a family friend, Bonnie Faye Quick. We're giving poor Alan a hard time. We all decided he had to take the shirt off. I don't know why, and obviously he doesn't either. Poor guy. Bless his heart. Look at him. Watch him put the shoe on. He's mad. I don't blame him. I suspect it was very warm. This was taken in 1950. This is the battleship Texas, which was docked near the Houston, Texas ship channel. Here we see Frida Lee, Effie Lehman, Orvilla Ringelman, Edgar Lehman, and Orlando Ringelman. This is 1954. We're back. Let's see. This is in Houston. This is Frida and Florence in front of Frida's home in Houston, Texas. This is Frida and Randall's home. We're back in Gary, Oklahoma. This is 1954. Edgar Lehman, Barbara and Albert Loganbill, Effie Lehman, Orvilla Ringelman, Frida and Randal Lee. Now we have the grandparents. Yes, the grandparents are in there. And there's Orvilla in the front. Now we have Randall is on the left, Randal Lee. Having a picnic. It's in the backyard of Effie and Edgar Lehman at their home. This is around the same time, 1954. This is Bill Murray, husband of Dorothy Lehman Murray. This is Frances Lehman Hart with her daughter Barbara. Frances is the daughter of Effie and Edgar Lehman. This is also around 1954. This is little William Jr. Murray, I believe, Dorothy and Bill's son. Here we have the grandparents and Frieda Lee and Orvilla Ringelman. This is the grandparents and Orvilla and Randal Lee. It's the Mennonite Church in Gary, Oklahoma. The Lehman home, and next door is the Ringelman home. It's Bill Murray. And I'm assuming this is the second son, Jay. Aunt Frieda is holding Jay. Jay Murray. This is downtown Gary, Oklahoma. This is around 1954. This is the Ringelman Market, owned by Orvilla and Orlando Ringelman. This is Edgar Lehman. He's standing in front of the mill where he worked. This is the Murrays and the Lehmans with the two grandbabies. This is the grandparents. I believe this is in Houston around 1954, where they're at the home of their daughter and son-in-law, Frida and Randal Lee. Frida and Randal always had a beautiful yard, a lot of flowers and plants. They were both of them gardeners. We're at the home of Elaine and Clyde Loganbill. This is in 1962. Clyde's riding his lawnmower. He always kept a beautiful lawn. Finished. A lot of palm trees. We're noted for our palm trees. This is at the beach. This is probably either South Padre Island or Boca Chica. It's our beach. Clyde and Elaine and their children, Lana and Alan. It's the Gulf of Mexico. We have wonderful sand dunes. We're back in Geary, Oklahoma. This is 1962. The Ringelman home and the Lehman home. I guess this is downtown Geary. Sitting in the backyard, the Lehmans, and there's Grandpa with Frida. And on the right now is Aunt Effie. There's Grandpa Albert Loganbill in his garden. He loved to work in the garden. And he worked in the garden until he was way into his 90s. This is around 1962. My husband, Warren Shropshire, and my two sons, Terry and Bradley Shropshire, visited the Lehmans and the Ringelmans. This was in 1962. I later had two other children, Jennifer Shropshire and Kevin Shropshire. This is Francis and Estelle and their two children, Richard and Barbara Hart. Shropshires are getting ready to leave to return to their home in Amarillo, Texas. Rolando and Edgar. This is my uncle, Randal Lee. He's mowing his yard in Napa, California. This is around 1962. He and my aunt have moved out to Napa. Also, I think a little bit later after that, my aunt and uncle, Florence and Bruce Kist, also moved to California. This is Dorothy and Bill Murray with their son, William Jr. This is around 1953. Obviously, these tapes are not in sequence. They move back and forth in year. We don't know who the gentleman on the left is. We also do not know who these people are that the Lees are visiting. Possibly friends of theirs from the service or maybe neighbors, we don't know. This is my Uncle Bruce Kist in front of his barber shop in Napa, California. I assume this is his home next door to the shop. Sisters, Frida and Florence's husband, Bruce. The Lees and the Kists take a trip in 1953. I'm not sure where this is, but the fish was that big. We're back in Gary, Oklahoma. This is around 1953. Orvilla Ringelman, Effie Lehman, Frida Lee, Barbara and Albert Loganbill. Also here we have Randal Lee is now in the picture in the center. And that's Orlando Ringelman on the right. Effie and Edgar Lehman. This is around 1953 also. The Ringelman home and the Lehman home. Grandparents again, and Effie and Frida and Orvilla and Edgar Lehman. That's Orlando Ringelman. This is Jenny and Ralph Ringelman. This is December the 28th and the 29th, 1954. Ralph's parents are Orlando and Orvilla Ringelman. There's Aunt Frida with them. Back in, let's see, this is in Oklahoma again. This is Gary, this is 1954. This is winter, obviously. And the homes of the Lehmans and the Ringelmans, both. Looks different with snow. Down the street, you can see the Gary Mennonite Church. I believe this is taken from inside the Ringelman home. Randall has made notes that this is Helen Ruth and Kaiser, 1954. I'm not sure if they're related or not. It's snowing. There's Aunt Arvilla walking across the drive to her sister's house. Sisters Frida Lee and Orvilla Ringelman. Even though there's snow on the ground, it must have warmed up. Looks like a beautiful day. We don't know who these people are. Maybe some of you will recognize them. This is Aunt Frida. We think this is in Oklahoma City. I'm not familiar with the buildings. This is in Effie and Edgar's home. This is 1956. Effie, Frida, Orvilla, Edgar. There are two people here we don't know, and there's Grandpa and Grandma. We don't know who these people are either. Maybe you'll recognize some of them. This is Grandpa Loganbill walking with two little girls. I'm not sure who the two little girls are. I believe this is in Houston, probably at Frida and Randall's home. This is 1955 at Falcon Dam. Falcon Dam is on the Rio Grande River, which separates Mexico and the United States. Shown here are my brother Danny, Clyde and Elaine Loganbill, Lana, Grandma, Aunt Frida, my father, Dan Loganbill. This is around 1955. Pictures of the dam. The lake formed by the dam is called Falcon Lake. The dam was built around 1952-53 and dedicated, I believe, in 1954. President Dwight Eisenhower came down for the dedication. Clyde and Elaine and my dad, Dan. This is at Clyde and Elaine's home again. This is in 1955. Clyde, I believe, is adding a front porch. This looks like a cotton field. In those days, we didn't have machines to pick cotton. It had to be picked by hand. This is at the beach, the Gulf of Mexico. This is 1955. This is Elaine Loganbill and Randal E Lee at the beach. This is Grandmother Loganbill and Grandpa Loganbill. Look how dressed up they were for the beach. They were all dressed. We don't dress like that anymore, do we? I don't think Grandma wanted to take her scarf off. That's a good picture of them at the beach. Very nice. That's the causeway that goes to the island. And that's the old Coast Guard station. This is at the train station. Effie and Edgar Lehman and Grandpa Loganbill. Are coming to visit Frida and Randal Lee and Florence and Bruce Kist in Napa, California. Grandma Loganbill, Barbara, passed away on May the 3rd, 1958, about 3 months before this. This is in August. It's August the 7th through the 31st, 1958 is when they were there. Florence and Effie and Edgar and Grandpa and Bruce. I don't know who the gentleman on the left is. I don't know who these people are. They're at the train station, getting ready to put Grandpa and Aunt Effie and Uncle Edgar on the train to go back to Gary, Oklahoma. This is Alan Loganbill on his horse. This is around 1951-52. There's Sister Lana. They're riding bareback. Go faster, go faster, go faster. We're moving ahead to 1957. This is Elaine and Clyde's home. Clyde has finished his building project from the last time. This is an onion field. The onions have been pulled and are now in the bags ready to be picked up by the truck. We're still in 1957. This is Reynosa, Mexico. Reynosa is approximately 7 miles from the Mission McAllen area. This is Irma Loganbill, my mother, my Aunt Elaine Loganbill, and Frida Lee. Here we are back at the Clyde Loganbill's home. This is still 1957. My mother, Irma Loganbill, and my aunt Frida standing in front of our home. The cattle are my father's, Dan Loganbill. That's my brother Danny. And a friendly calf. And not so friendly. It's my dad, Dan Loganbill. My mother and dad. This is Orlando and Orvilla Ringelman and Aunt Frida. This, I believe, is the old home place in Gary, Oklahoma, the grandparents' farm. This was taken, I believe, around 1957. The place is no longer there. The house was moved into Gary and later burned. This is a trip that Clyde and Elaine, Lennon, and Allen took to California. This was in 1961. They visited with the Lees, and looks like they went to see the sights with them. Lana and Elaine, her mother, Frida, Alan and Clyde. Looks like it might be San Francisco. Florence and Frida, sisters. 3 sisters here, Florence and Frida and Martha Williams. I'm not sure who this couple might be. Okay, we're having a picnic. Aunt Martha Williams and Florence kissed, and Frida Lee. This is in June, I believe I said, in 1967. Is Aunt Martha in the garden? We have a lot of gardeners in the family. Okay, this is October 1967. The Ringelmans, the Kiss. And there's Aunt Frida. Aunt Ervilla. We're having a good time. Here are the azaleas. Looks like azaleas. Aunt Frida's standing in front of them. Looks like we've gone back again in time, possibly the late 40s. Grandpa Loganbill and Aunt Effie. This is probably around 1952. It's in Houston. There's Randal Lee. This is in front of their home, the Lee's home. This is the Murrays, Dorothy and Bill. This is in 1952. This is Shamrock Hotel. This is also in 1952. It's in Houston, Texas. Again, Dorothy and Bill, around the same time. Probably a little before the other pictures. Bluebonnets, Texas Bluebonnets. We're back in Houston, Texas. Frida and Randal Lee. There's Bruce and Florence. Dorothy and Bill again. This is probably around 1953. This is Frida and Randall's trip to the Grand Canyon. It was their vacation for 1952. Bill Murray again. There's Dorothy. This is also in the early 50s. Here we skip to 1957. Randall and Frida and Bruce and Florence. This is the backyard of Frida and Randal Lee in Napa Valley, California. Beautiful yard, beautiful flowers. This is Frida in the early 50s. This is in the early 60s. Here we go to a picnic with Aunt Martha and Aunt Frida and Aunt Florence. This was September the 9th to October the 15th, 1965, Martha's visit to Napa, California. There's Aunt Martha and Aunt Frida. Randal and Frida Lee. I don't know who these people are with Aunt Martha. It's Aunt Frida. Arvilla and Edgar make another trip to California. This is August the 9th, 1968. Grandpa Loganbill has passed away. The previous year, he passed away November the 7th, 1967. It's Effie and Edgar Lehman. They're back at the train station. They're returning to Gary, Oklahoma. This is Dorothy again. She's with Aunt Frida, and this is in October of 1968. It's Uncle Randal. I'm not sure who the lady is. This is Alan Loganbill. He took a trip to Napa Valley. This was in September of 1970 to visit the Kess and the Lees. Still hiding his face. Back that far. Bruce and Alan. This is in September of 1972. Elaine and Clyde are visiting California. This is a trip that Frida and Randall took to Casey, Illinois. This was in 1950. We do not know who the two ladies are, possibly relatives of his. We believe these are the headstones for Randall's parents and for his sister. And this is in Casey, Illinois. Frida and Randall in front of a castle. We do not know who these people are. This is the Lees and the Kiss. They were on a trip to Tacoma, California and Death Valley. I believe they also toured Scotty's Castle. This is Frida in a drugstore or a department store. This is in Tijuana, Mexico. They took a trip to Tijuana in 1973, and they also toured the Napa Valley vineyards of the Christian Brothers vineyard. The movies that will follow were made by Randal Lee on Kwajalein Island between January the 31st and April the 1st, 1944, and also pictures from Hawaii between 1943 and 45. Kwajalein Island is a 78-mile long island, and it's located in the Marshall Islands. There will be some other movies of a vacation taken in 1946, Sacramento, San Francisco, and Los Angeles.